but yeah, so that was one of the, I would say, the key ingredients. If I had not been depressed, it's difficult to say whether I would have discovered I was trans or not, but uh, that was a huge part of it because it didn't go away. I mean, I was when I joined the army, I joined because my life was in such bad shape, and the army helped. It was a painful experience, getting picked on and that kind of thing regularly, which pretty much started after I had my first homosexual experience, and I don't want to say it was because of that, because maybe the people didn't even know that I had done it, but my self-esteem went through the floor. I felt like I was the biggest criminal, the biggest sinner in the church that is the army. Uh, but years, I mean, 30 some years, 30, probably 38 years of being unhappy, uh, being miserable, being suicidal, abusing drugs. I mean, when you're in that state, you start looking for answers. And, you know, some people might say, well, you looked for an answer, now you found one that seems to have some kind of merit. That doesn't make it true. Just because you look like a woman doesn't mean you found out your problem. And to me, it's not even that I look like a woman. Maybe right now you're thinking, no, you don't really. But I almost don't want to end the video. I feel like I've said all I had to say, but I don't want to end the video. I want to keep talking. Um, but yeah, being miserable. It occurred to me recently that I don't even know how to have fun. I recently have started a kind of abstinence type thing. I stopped using Robitussin about 2 years ago, maybe more than 2 years ago, and that was largely from encouragement from other people. Alcohol, I've had a little bit harder time giving up, and that's partly because other people are more accepting of alcohol than they were of Robitussin. People seem to have this idea that if you're drinking Robitussin, you have a serious problem, right? Because that's cough syrup. It's not meant to be. It's not meant for recreational use. Alcohol is meant for recreational use. That makes it okay. Which I always found kind of, what's the word? It's not hypocritical. I guess it is hypocritical, but I just recently went 30 days without alcohol, and I gave myself 30 days. I said my goal is to go 30 days without alcohol, because if I go make my goal a year or 2 years out, I'm probably going to fail. But I did 30 days, and after my 30 days was up, I gave myself permission to drink again. And when I was thinking about drinking, it occurred to me why I was drinking, and it was that I don't know how to have a good time. And I feel like that is kind of where the trans idea comes from, because it when there are times when I see myself as a woman, when I think that having a good time is possible. It's almost like if I live as a man, having a good time is just not possible. Not even with drugs, because even with drugs, I really didn't have a good time. I know I've said that I've had memories that I cherish, but I wouldn't really say that I had a good time. And by good, I should probably add the word healthy, because there were times that I had that were memorable, but they probably weren't very healthy. But that was when I saw myself as a woman. It was part of that. The what made me think that I was trans was this feeling that I think I could possibly have a good time now. I think I could probably have fun, even though I still feel like I don't know how to do it. If the first thing that comes to mind is to, for one, just have a friend. I had the only time I've really ever had friends was when I was in college. I do have two friends now. Neither of them live in the United States, but the only time I actually like spent time with people and just hung out was when I was in college. The biggest problem with that is that it was mostly drug using time. I mean, our hangout times were basically us tripping on Robitussin and smoking weed or drinking beer. And when you're doing that, you're not really making friends with people. In my opinion, you can. But that's one of the reasons I don't go to bars anymore, is because when the people that I've met at bars that I talked to while I was there, or did stuff with outside of the bar, just proved not to be reliable, dependable, not really friends. And so I feel like, that may be the direction. Maybe making these videos will lead to some friendships or to some real relationships, which is another reason that I'm making them. People have told me, 4 different people have told me, 2 therapists and 2 friends have told me not to try to make connections with my own family at the moment, but to try to make connections outside my family. And where I live, making connections does not seem feasible. If I were to present myself like this, and I could, try to make friends presenting as a man, but I feel like that would just be, if I didn't tell them, if it was a secret or whatever, I feel like that would just be a problem. If I were to, and I mean, if I were to met somebody and just tried to keep the whole trans thing a secret and still try to be friends with them, I feel like that would almost be impossible. I kind of got off track. I guess it's okay. But yeah, that was part of why I discovered it. The misery, the fear of people seeing me, the bad relationships. I mean, I dated quite a few girls, and I did not really enjoy any of the relationships. It's just not to say that I didn't like the girls, but the relationships themselves were. It's like when it's strange to be with someone and still feel lonely, and that's what it felt like. It felt like there was just not, the connection was just not being made. I don't know how else to put it, but it was, in some cases, being with someone was more depressing than being single. No, it was before the trans discovery. Since the trans discovery, I was about to say I haven't had a relationship with a woman or anybody, but that's not true. I did meet someone when I was in Atlanta, but that was a very unusual circumstance, and to call that a relationship is almost, I don't know what to call it, because we're still friends, even though she's kind of disappeared at the moment, being on the other side of the planet. But there was more to that relationship. We were kind of on the same spiritual path, I guess is the way to put it. And so we were, no, whoops. That wasn't a typical friendship, so almost want to say it doesn't count. But yeah. Uh, when you're that lonely, when all your relationships are flailing, or I was flailing, not the relationship. When you feel desperate, when you feel like uh, it's almost like your two choices are to get drunk or to kill yourself, because being sober is just it's just not an option, because it's too painful to be sober. Then no, you kind of start looking for answers. Even before I discovered that I was trans, I was seeing a psychologist for anxiety and depression. And I was doing things to help with the anxiety and depression. I'd taken the cognitive behavior therapy course. I've even taken a dialectical behavior therapy course. That was after the trans discovery, but and those things help. I mean, paying attention to your thoughts and not bashing yourself, these kinds of things help. But the point that I'm trying to get to is that nothing that I did to kind of help with my depression or my unhappiness worked the way that seeing myself as a woman worked. That's kind of the whole point that I'm trying to get to. That is what, for me, kind of what makes the whole idea that I'm trans so convincing. It is the kind of the feeling that I have